perfect creation of God. Light and innocence of the universe. To accept this divine truth that you are perfect as the creation of God is to accept reality. The false self would love to limit what that could possibly be, to be the perfect creation of God. The false self would like to make it into a form and an identity that looks very much like the identity that you've carried. In fact, there is nothing within the mind of limitation that can grasp the creation, the perfect creation that you are as the creation of God. It isn't something that you will grasp with the mind that made the belief of separation even viable. It is a willingness to accept the truth of God. Accept it into your heart. Accept it into your awareness. Invite it into your awareness, that you're willing to meet the truth of being the innocent creation. Every beloved rejects being the innocent creation, rejects it enough because it's easier to make a small self and then try to blow it up with ideas, personal ideas. Try to defend a self-made identity. Trying to protect it and defend it because you made it. And because there is a upside down belief within the identity that says, I want to be proud of what I make, and I want to get satisfaction and a sense of pride for what I made myself. The difficulty with this is that everything that is made by the self, the little self, has no value. It's a temporary false identity that disappears with each birth and death of the body. The identity somewhat disappears, and then it reappears again to be remade in each lifetime of incarnation in the belief of separation. This is the hard work that the ego insists on. The insistence is about protection, defense, and making a false self that has no relationship to the innocence and purity and perfection of God that you truly are. One of the reasons that the ego wants to protect and defend its own made self is because it seems more unique The ego has no interest in union. The ego has no interest in oneness. The ego's interest is in self-promotion and in the belief of scarcity, trying to be better, more important, more successful, more valuable than others, because there's only so much room at the top, according to the ego. All of this is totally untrue and fabricated. And this is the journey of love. Not to discover love, but to discover and to illuminate all the barriers that have been made against love, against truth, against creation. All the barriers that have been made with every incarnation. Barriers have been produced and held as important. The call of the Holy Spirit is the call to illuminate all that's been made in the name of separation, all the barriers against love. And every beloved has a very fair share of barriers that have meant nothing, but they're totally convincing to be important. And because they're self-made, the importance of them says, this is what I will protect. Protect my self-identity and improve it instead of putting it on the altar and surrendering it all into the hands of God, willing that all the ideas of self be given to God, so that transformation into the reality of innocence can be finally accepted and lived, truly lived. Imagine living as the innocence of God. Using imagining, it can't even really go there, but let your heart say yes. Let your heart embrace the promise of your innocence, the promise from the truth. In this moment, in this innocence, allow everything that you held today as a problem. Surrender that now into the hands of God and accept for this moment that there are no problems. The only problem that you've ever had or held as a barrier to love is the belief that you are separate from God, that you are your identity in separation. That's been the only problem that's ever been disturbing for anything, because the belief that you are separate from God is the sorrow of life. To believe that you are cast aside, lost, without the source of your life and love. Without that, everything looks like a problem. Everything is coming from a place of the heart that is longing to remember the oneness, and to come into the awareness that you are one with God, whether you believe it or not. That is the journey of love. In this moment, the willingness to let go of the belief in those problems and to realize there really is no problem, because you are not separate from God. Just because your mind tells you so, it has no reality. You are not separate from God. So there is no problem. In the realization that you are one with God and are willing to live in your heart undefended, all the perception of problems disappear, because everything is now in the hands of God. Your life, your purpose, everything in the hands of God. So in this moment, allow yourself to truly rest and accept that there are no problems. That each moment can unfold with grace, with harmony, and with peace. The willingness to accept, to walk with God, and with God, in God, for God. And to affirm, I walk with God in perfect holiness, being the holiness of creation, one with all beloveds. I walk in peace, and I rest. Reassured and assured that you are the innocence of love, and that the universe serves you as you accept love itself and offer love itself. Resting in God. As you rest and allow, affirm in your heart that there is only one presence here. It is the life force of God. Within this life force, we live and move and breathe as one. The holy union of love is the recognition of the innocence of each beloved, and that there is complete union in this oneness. The sanctuary is filled with love, because love is all that there is. No thoughts of separation remembers love, but allow your heart and give your mind to God to be used only for the truth of love. This universe is all love. And the universe, as love, rests, even as it moves in perfect harmony in whatever motion is most helpful. The universe is all love. It is God itself. Accepting love is the way. Accepting that you are that love. A love that must be offered to be realized. To come home to love is to offer love. To offer love is to realize there is nothing ever to get. All is already within. And the offering of that God center of your heart is freely given without any obligation or expectation of being paid back, but freely given with joy, freely given with the realization that as you freely give, you are giving to yourself. The circle of love is the gift that as you offer, you receive. The love expands in the generosity of the heart. Resting in love. As you allow prayer to fill your heart with inspiration and confirmation that all the sacred hymns are given by divine beings that want to answer humanity's call for remembering. And thus, all the divine beings offer teachings, learning the truth of love, opening the doors to the mysteries of the vibration of love, opening the heart and the mind to being shown the way. Oh, teach me to open my heart to those who come here to be healed. Teach me to open my heart to this love, to heal all this pain of this world. We have strayed from the love of our Father and wandered in pain since our birth. It was Jesus who came here to save us all, to release all the pain here on earth. Oh, my mother, the queen of the sea, it's your love that I feel inside me. Teach me to love from the depth of my heart, to heal all the pain that I see. My Father is here with his love. He shows how we care for us all. He loves everyone who has come to this work, all those who have answered this call. Teach me to open my heart. Why would anybody find it necessary to be taught how to open the heart? The ego mind would say, well, that's really ridiculous. I can open my heart if I want to. Except every beloved has made some kind of an agreement with the belief of separation, the belief of danger that says, I will not open my heart. I will not open my heart until I feel safe, And I won't feel safe until I open my heart. The safety is in the leap of faith into the hands of God, that you must open your heart, that you must open your heart into the hands of God. You're opening your heart and joining in God's love that is wanting to have you recognize that that love is waiting in your heart. It is your remembering. And how do you open your heart? Only by offering love to every beloved, without exception. No matter what resistance there is in the mind, in the habits of self-protection, the self-protection is nothing but a prison that is self-made, where you stay locked up in your own ideas and in your own fears. There's no love there. To accept the teaching and wanting to be shown how to open your heart is saying and declaring, I am not a victim of this life. I am not a victim of this world. I am free in the knowledge and truth of being one with creation. I am willing to open to that freedom and live free. Living free with an open heart. This is the way of love. And to realize that you are never alone in the journey if you are willing to call on the power of love, the power of God. But only you can do the calling. It can't be forced on you. It won't, God will not take you prisoner and force you to listen. God will not take you prisoner and force you to pay attention, to be in that divine instruction of learning to love. But find the willingness within, just a little willingness to let God lead you into an open heart and to show you the way to truly learn to offer love. It takes great humility to be willing to be shown the way. The arrogance of the ego loves to pretend that it's really knowledgeable and really can figure things out and is way ahead of the game and likes to play importance. But the calling of love is the calling into humility that just realizes, I don't know how to return to the truth. Show me the way and show me how to open my heart so that I can truly live and serve and love. The easy way of love is then shown. I must love. I must love with all of my heart. The Blessed Mother is the one who calls to me to learn to love and be one in that love with God with all of my heart. To bring love and harmony to each beloved. My Blessed Mother, Divine Mother, you hold us in the truth of forgiveness. I am willing to forgive myself for all ideas that I've had of everyone being not worthy of love. I must love. We are here to remember how to love, to open the heart and offer love. Divine Father, Creator of love, We say yes to the totality of forgiveness. We must forgive every beloved, all ideas that we've held of separation and wrongdoing and being unfairly treated. We must surrender everything and return to love. We're here in the forgiveness now so that we may remember to love with all of the heart. I must love. The calling is so pure and so strong. It's meant to be strong so that you can't deny it and you can't avoid it. Eventually, it's guaranteed you're going to remember. Why not now? Eu devo amar no coração. A Virgem Mãe foi quem me deu para eu amar ao Senhor Deus. Ó Virgem Mãe, Divina Mãe, vós nos perdoe os filhos seus, para nos amar ao Senhor Deus. Divino Pai, Rei Criador, vós nos perdoe, nos pecadores, para nos amar com grande amor. I must love. As we open to this teaching, we open to this love and hold our beloved Walter in the heart of love. As he begins his transition into peace and harmony, we hold him, we serve him, we affirm that he is the light of God in a temporary form and that he is here to remember. And we remember, you all remember for him. That is the power that you carry. The power of your intention to remember love has the power to awaken thousands with you. This is the offering of love at its most generous. To awaken, to offer love. Love is the funeral pyre. Love is the funeral pyre where I have laid my living body. All the false notions of myself that once caused fear and pain have turned to ash as I near God. What has risen from the tangled web of thought and sinew now shines with jubilation through the eyes of angels and screams from the guts of the infinite existence itself. Love is the funeral pyre where the heart must lay its body. What keeps you from the awareness of your heart? that could be a question of a quandary. Part of what holds you away from the heart, from the fear of letting go of the heart, is the belief in being a body and that it must be protected. If you, for a moment, could let go, surrender the identity of being a body, the heart would lose its defense system and be available to burst through the illusion of the body. The heart, not the organ, but the heart center is the heart center of your being. And all that has been done to protect and defend the heart from the world now must be surrendered. Each beloved has made a very convincing identity and story, very convincing, worth Academy Award nominations. So convincing that you have believed yourself to be a body, an identity, a past, and all of that is being called to be surrendered. On the funeral pyre, to have a funeral, saying goodbye to the false identity that has no purpose and no value. Everything that you have made in the name of being an identity, everything is being called to be given, turned over to the Holy Spirit, so that it can actually be transformed into serving love. So let's say that you have a talent with it, what's known as talent within the world, and you have a talent for art, painting. For that painting to have value, it's to surrender and give the talent, give everything over to the hands of God, to no longer be willing to hold the development that you've made for the world, whatever that means, whatever you have developed, giving it all over into the hands of God, to be used only to serve love. That it no longer has a personal attachment to it where there is a personal payoff or a wanting to get from it. This seems so contrary to the world, where everyone is geared and raised to be very proud of your own development and what you went to school for and what you've made of yourself. But all of that is being called to be surrendered into the hands of God. The rest of it is going on the funeral pyre. It is meant to turn into ash, not personal anymore, but now only used for the remembering of love by the Holy Spirit. Imagine being an artist and having the Holy Spirit be the artist that you are expressing. Imagine love being the artist that is being expressed through you, the truth of your love expressing itself. This isn't just about talent. This is about using everything in the everyday life, having surrendered it all into the hands of the Holy Spirit to be used, so that every word becomes the Holy Spirit's. That you're not trying to say or do anything that has a personal payoff, that there is anything to prove of a personal way. How can the innocence and beauty and perfection of God settle by proving a little value in the world? It has no rhyme or reason to it. That's why everything of your everyday life must be surrendered into the hands of God to be transformed and used for its divine purpose. Is it possible? Of course. Is it guaranteed that you will? Yes, it is guaranteed that you will. You have time that you can delay if you choose to, but the freedom that comes from that surrender is so exquisite. The freedom of no longer being personally attached to anything within the daily life, and yet being fully present because your heart is at the center of everything, offering love and letting the Holy Spirit use the day to bless and comfort, and that you are in that joining in the holy union of God. Without the personal, there is freedom. The personal says, I must get, I must have, I must make up for the past. Every beloved believes that in the past they were shortchanged. They were denied the longing of love. Of course, no one was aware that this sense of longing, this sense of being without love, was from the separation, the belief of separation from God. It didn't come from the story at all. The story came from the belief of the separation from God, played out within the world as, I am unloved. I am without. I have been rejected. I have been condemned. I saw condemnation shining in the light of the eyes of others, saying to me that I was less. All of these beliefs are coming from the projection onto others that is just a reflection that says, I believe that I am not the value of God. I believe that I am diminished and damaged. I believe that I am unworthy of love. And that's all the letting go, because those are the lies. You are not damaged. You are not unworthy of love. You are love itself. How could you be unworthy of love? You just haven't discovered that you are the light of God. You haven't discovered that the love of the universe is who you are. It's what you are. But you have to accept this And only you can accept this. You can battle with it, you can doubt it, and you can affirm constantly, well, my evidence doesn't back that up. The evidence of my life, how I feel within, says I am not the innocence and perfection of God. And then every beloved wants to believe their own experience and their own feelings about it, rather than we all have to step. This is where I had to go. You have to step in and accept wholeheartedly the teachings of love that affirm and bring you back to the awareness that you are indeed the innocence and purity of God. And that there is nothing for you to have to protect, defend, or prove. Love is the funeral pyre. Love is what has to be used to burn up this false identity that is held on to so vehemently as important and viable. Not only do you not see that you are the light of God, but you have all these false notions. Again, it's not that you wouldn't accept maybe that you are the light of God, but all the barriers that have been made against that truth have not been surrendered and are being called to be surrendered, to be put on the funeral pyre, to let them all burn up. The bonfire of love. Reject the lies. Reject them in every moment. Deny them. Turn away from them because they have no value at all. All the false notions of myself, that's what the barriers to love are. False notions, false identities. Everybody carries them until you wake up. The beliefs that I carried were the same as everybody's. I believed they were worse because I believed I was worse. But that's just a contest, an ego contest of trying to prove who's worse off. Victims love that camaraderie of pain and suffering. It's an upside down sense of connection. But love is calling to recognize that all these false notions of yourself that once caused fear and pain have turned to ash as you turn to God. And how do you turn to God? Which direction do you turn? How is it possible to turn to God as you walk in the world? It's through the heart. You turn inward to God. And then you see God in everyone, which everyone must do. And you cannot hold anyone exclusive from that. You cannot deny anyone the truth of their divinity because they are you. You think there's somebody else. There is nobody else. In the moment of incarnation, in the belief of separation, the oneness fragmented into millions of different forms. Each one being given a name, each one being given an identity as if it was separate from the oneness. So every beloved is you. Every beloved is the divinity of God. And everything that you think you see about them is coming from a perception of separation. And everything that you see about them is how you see yourself. The fears that you have of yourself, you see in everyone. Because that's where the self-hatred comes out. The self-hatred of the belief that you separated from God is so intense within that it attacks constantly. It attacks yourself. You are in a constant self-attack in the belief of separation, hating and judging who you are and what you are as you see yourself. But how you see yourself has no reality. How you see yourself is that you're going to give yourself maybe a little room for okayness, as if to accept that you are the light of God and the perfection of the universe, that is arrogant. Does it mean that in arrogance, in that awareness, that you walk around saying, hey, I'm the light of God, I'm the divine creation? No. It rests in the heart. It rests in the heart and confidence of the truth of God. And it is not arrogance at all. It is humility. It is humility to accept the grandeur of your being as the light of God. It isn't an identity that you're going to walk around with. It's a state of being that it is truly humbling to accept your grandeur, your innocence, because you are affirming and accepting the truth of God. God is declaring you are the light. God is declaring you are the innocence and purity of creation. When you affirm another identity, even if it's one that likes to puff itself up and try to make itself a little bit bigger than it really thinks it is, it's like this little thread of nothing, and you're tossing the beauty and grandeur that you truly are. You're denying the truth of God. And then in that denial, you suffer. You suffer because you believe that in the denial, you need to suffer. You believe that you are unworthy of love and should be suffering. So you make a world where you suffer and believe in suffering, when there is no suffering in God. And your divine spirit is devoid of suffering. You put all of the energy of suffering into the body, the false self. You attach everything to the body. And you believe that others are dangerous and that they reject you and that you are unfairly treated and that you have to be cautious and you have to make sure that others are recognizing your worth before you give them any worth of their own. It's all upside down and inside out. It's a game. And the game is being called to be let go because it's time to burn everything on the funeral pyre. All the pain and the suffering and the false identities what has risen from the tangled web of thought and body, risen out of the funeral pyre, after you burn and give to God all of what you think you made and all that you think you are, turning it over and resting in the happiness that you are nothing. Nothing meaning you are everything, but not attached to any false identity that you built in the name of separation. It's a deep place of beautiful surrender. But that surrender comes through every relationship, through every opportunity, every day of opening your heart to every beloved without exception and not looking for anything in return, because you have to affirm so deeply that nothing is missing within you. You are not looking for approval. You are not looking for completion. You are not looking for kudos. You are not looking for an appraisal of any kind. You are accepting that you are the grandeur of God, and that every beloved is also that same reflection of grandeur. But you're offering love. You're willing to see them and hold them as the light of God, and only that. You don't want anything from them. You're not looking for safety from them. You're not looking for acknowledgement. You're trusting in God. And that you must open your heart and be undefended in order to open to the joy of life. To no longer be fearful, because you're willing to put the past on the funeral pyre. You're willing for it to burn up and disappear and no longer be a slave to those past thoughts and past identities that are like nightmares that go everywhere with you. When I say nightmares, everybody has their own awareness of the nightmares. The nightmares are the dream state of the past that has no reality to it. You are not that identity. You're not the identity that you brought with you from the past lifetime and the past lifetime before that and the past lifetime before that. You are not those identities. In every lifetime, you tried to build a viable identity. And in each lifetime, you're looking for the healing of the belief of being separate from God. And this is the lifetime where that awareness is right there with you. That the healing and the remembering of your wholeness is here in this lifetime. Through your willingness to truly surrender your life to its purpose, to learn to love, and to surrender all the barriers that you have made against love. It's everybody's journey. In this journey, which I was glad to walk, not that there wasn't resistance. There is always resistance until there's no more resistance. But only you can look at that resistance and say, I don't want it anymore. I'm sick of the resistance. I had a beloved walk through these last couple of weeks with an awareness that when things were kind of identified as a crisis, you know, like something really seemed like big in their life, and it looked like a crisis that really needed attention, that's when this beloved went the deepest. Because all of a sudden, in the name of crises, this beloved was on her knees saying, I have to have help. You have to show me the way because I haven't got a clue. And the beauty of that was that she discovered that how powerful her dropping to her knees and how powerful it was for her to have to raise the white flag of asking for help. Show me, please, how to love without conditions. Show me, please, the way of opening my heart. Teach me to open my heart. I'm raising the white flag. I don't know how to open my heart and to see this differently. I don't know how to let go of my obsession with making sure that everything is even and paid back. I don't know how to let go of this mental list that I make of how many times I have done something for somebody else and they haven't done it for me. This is the sickness. This is the poison of separation. The belief that there is helpfulness or anything of sanity in keeping score of how many times you've been hurt in this world so that you can make sure that you minimize the score and protect yourself. You're believing in the past that is not reality. The past has to be forgiven. It has to be put on the funeral pyre. Let it be burned up, because all it does is hold you, first of all, in the arrogance of knowing that says, I know that this is the reality and I am not letting go of this. Not making the connection of pain and suffering that is at the cause and effect of your decision. The past is the place of pain. It doesn't offer anything else. When you surrender the past and your identity that is part of the past, for sure, and you surrender all the ideas of relationships and reciprocity and getting and proving your worth through the pretense of offering connection with somebody, but it's under a pretense that I want you to give back to me so I feel more whole. There's no love there. And all there is fear of being rejected again. All there is fear of being unsafe. But these are all the lies, and they must be surrendered. Love is the funeral pyre where the heart must lay its body and come back to love. Come back. In this world, it's very essential to ask the question with honesty from within. This is a self-inquiry. Who do you perceive as guilty? It's a beautiful question to ask within, because that's what allows you to bring up the dishonesty of what you've held as those who are guilty, Who do you perceive to be guilty? I had a long list, and my list kept growing with every new relationship, because everyone was at fault through my perceptions, because they could not give me the love that I was looking for. I wanted it to be fulfilling. I wanted their friendship, their connection. I wanted it to be healing for me. I wanted to feel better. I wanted to feel connected, and I wanted to feel like I belonged and I was acceptable. In looking for that in others, I was always on the edge of fear. Fear that they were going to find out that they actually really hated me. Fear that they would be looking at me all of a sudden and seeing with disgust what I saw of myself. Fear of not having it be fulfilling, that I would finally feel connected, but never did. Until the game had to stop. Until the Holy Spirit had to bring me to my knees, that no one owed me anything, and that the source of love was God, and it was within me. It was not something that I was going to earn out there. It was already the truth within. And that in order to accept that truth within, I had to offer that truth, which meant to love without conditions each beloved and want nothing from them. Absolutely nothing. Not rejecting them, saying, don't give me anything, keep your distance. No, truly opening the heart and embracing their innocence. Going past the identities and really wanting to see the innocence. It's like having a baby and looking at that child and saying, I have to see the innocence of this beloved. I cannot attach anything to this beloved of saying they're this, they're that, they're conniving, they're whatever. No. I'm willing to see the truth of this beloved beyond the identity that I've given them. I'm willing to see them as the light of God and hold that for them and with them so that they can remember. And we must do this with every beloved. This is the journey I had to walk, was to learn to love without conditions, to not look for anything but to offer love, peace, and harmony, and to meet each beloved where they were. Not making a judgment on where they were, but meeting them in the center of love and not expecting them to reciprocate and recognize me. As soon as there was a need for recognition, it was no longer the purity of love. We must learn to love, and we have to be taught how to love, and we have to let God lead the way and show us, teach me to love. And let me use every sacred teaching to turn me into the truth again and again and again and again, and find the strength of trust to make that leap of faith and open my heart. Because it is a leap of faith. For sure it is. Because everything in your whole system is saying, don't open your heart. Don't be exposed. Be protected. That's more familiar. But you're being called to go beyond and past anything that's familiar and really open your heart. Who do you perceive as guilty? Those are the ones that you have to forgive yourself for holding them as guilty of any wrongdoing, of anything, of any idea. And it takes great honesty to go there. It does. And yet it's the honesty of freedom. They go together. The more honest, it's not about honesty with others in the sense of, hey, I'm honestly going to tell you what I think about you. I honestly think that you need to get it together. That is not honesty. That's a game that the ego likes to play of thinking it knows something. The honesty is, I honestly am learning how to love. And I want to only see the truth of your divine presence. And I want to learn to open my heart. That's the inner honesty. And I don't want to put on anyone the need for them to prove my worth. That is my relationship with the divine that is within. The acceptance that all worth is already in perfect harmony and just needs to be recognized. Who do you perceive as guilty? Because they have to be forgiven. You have to forgive yourself for the identity that you gave them of their wrongdoing. And you have to forgive yourself for the false identity you gave yourself. It's all coming from the self-made mind. Return the mind to God and forgive all the ones that you've held as guilty. All the ones that you would and have happily crucified. You don't think of it as crucifixion because it doesn't seem quite that disastrous. But when you judge, when you have opinions about others and likes and dislikes and reactions to them as if they are an enemy, you are choosing to crucify them. And without being that honest, you don't realize that you have that kind of power. Not that you can really crucify them because they're the light of God, but you can divorce yourself from them. You can make a line, draw a line and say, you are no longer anything that I am interested in knowing. Instead of, we are one beloved. I must love. There is no one that has done anything. No one. All of humanity is innocent and must be accepted. You can bring healing to restore to guiltlessness all that you chose to see as guilty. You have the power to heal the belief that you've carried of others that you have believed to be guilty of anything that you were at the effect of, or you believed you were at the effect of. And every single element that you walk through from the time of incarnation, you built an identity out of your perception of what you experienced. Everything that you built about yourself, all of the self-hatred, all of the self-recriminations, limitations, being paralyzed, seeing yourself as inadequate, seeing yourself as damaged, seeing yourself as needing to prove your worth, needing to protect, needing to defend, needing to be safe. All of it has been manufactured from the past and is about guilt and condemnation, that you're being called to surrender and truly heal and forgive all of the perceptions of condemnation that have no purpose and no reality. And all the ways. If the ego was not quite so clever, it wouldn't be so insidious, because if you were actually able to say honestly, I hate your guts, I condemn you because you don't give me what I'm looking for, that honesty then would give you the opportunity of seeing actually what's running in the mind. But the ego is more clever than that. So it hides under false pretenses of exacerbation of, I don't know how to get through to them, or they don't, whatever. It's all making up stories about others being the problem. There is no other. Every beloved is you. Every beloved is the reflection of God. And there is no one guilty. And if no one else is guilty, then you have to accept that you're not guilty either. But it's that conscious letting go of all judgment, all assessments that goes on all the time, of critiquing and judging others for their behaviors, and whether you like it or you don't like it, or how irritated you can become when something triggers you. But those are just, again, it's all the past that wants to be in charge and wants to hold you in separation. And it's time to let go of the guilt. Crucifixion is always the ego's aim. Doesn't look that way. Judgments and assessments look pretty docile. What's the big deal standing someplace and having an opinion and a judgment about somebody else that you think they're not doing their job? Let's say you're in a restaurant and the waiter doesn't get there very quickly. How easy is it to have an assessment of their work ethics and their behavior? And the ego would like you to think that that's all that is, and that you have the right to that because you've been offended. The spiritual journey is upside down from this world. It's completely not connected to this world of pain, suffering, assessments, and judgments, and condemnations. The spiritual journey is the journey of seeing that beloved as the waiter who you would have in the past seen as too slow, that now it's a call for love. It's a call to see that beloved as the light of God, and to forgive yourself for the temptation of wanting to see that beloved as less, or as doing something to you personally that you have been offended. How easy is it to be offended in this world? Extremely easy. Because all of the offense is coming from your own mind and being projected onto every situation, and you make your own world of being offended, and then you feel the justification of your being offended and your justification of judgment. To bless each beloved and to see them as the wholeness of God and to embrace them is to walk with God in the power of God, of transformation. Every offering of every blessing that you offer of a call for love, which is allowing the Holy Spirit to show you what would be most helpful in the moment. Every calling for love sets the world free a little bit more. Every time you hear a call for love. And that is, the call for love is in direct conflict with the ego's decision that says there is no call for love, there is only the criticism and expectations of how you want others to give you something. Or how you, and this includes behavior. If someone isn't behaving as you want them to, like a waiter, it is because you were looking for that waiter to serve you in what your mind said was right. You already had established that to be properly treated, that waiter had to serve you in a certain amount of time, or you were not being properly treated. And then in that moment, you believe that you can be unfairly treated. You believe that you can be not properly treated, and that they are now your enemy for treating you without respect. That is how insidious in the everyday life the ego runs on guilt and crucifixion and vengeance, because it's all vengeance. Especially if the waiter doesn't show up quickly enough, and you had a waiter the day before that didn't show up quickly enough. Now this waiter has a double bind, because he now has to pay, or she has to pay, for the beloved who didn't show up the day before in time. Now they have a double offense. This is the mind of the ego. Keeping score, finding offenses, guilty when you're not treated as you believe you should be treated. This is not a thing of self-esteem. This is about battle and the belief that you are not the light of God and that there is something missing. There's nothing missing. And you cannot be unfairly treated because you are the wholeness of God. And all the belief of being unfairly treated is totally fabricated in the mind. The belief that the world is a cruel and unjust place is the world that's been made by the belief of separation. And the only way that you can heal from it is by removing your belief in it and bringing love to it without conditions. To love that waiter, to embrace that waiter as the wholeness of God, is to, in that moment, put your old beliefs of wrongdoing on the funeral pyre and let it burn up and be free. Come into union with that beloved, and it has nothing to do with their performance of whether they're a good waiter or not by your standards, as if you were the judge and the jury. The pain and suffering that you have is from trying to keep score times someone has offended you. It's a fun game for the ego, especially if you're good with numbers. It's a fun game to try to keep score. And to be able to pull that scoreboard out at the drop of a hat to give your evidence of wrongdoing. But it isn't just that you are condemning the beloved who is really yourself. It isn't just that. You're condemning yourself. Because every time you believe someone is guilty, you suffer. Because you believe that you could be separate. And that God is not the center of the universe. And that you are not the divine creation. And if you are the divine creation, then everyone must be the divine creation. And there is no wrongdoing. There is only the purity of love. That's all. It becomes really simple. The Holy Spirit's gentleness. He would reestablish with the reign of love. That is the purpose of this incarnation, is to reestablish the reign of love. And only you can bring that love by letting go of all perception of demands and judgments, to set everyone free and to embrace every beloved. If you're talking to somebody on the phone at a insurance company or something else, offer love. Don't be counting how long it took them to get to you or anything else. Avoid the temptation. Open your heart to love. Consciously offering them love and seeing them as the beloved. Moment to moment. That's all. I must love. And I must let all of these false notions of myself and everyone else be on the funeral pyre in the name of oneness, in the name of love. I must love. Let that be the center of your heart. Nothing else.